Dark Peace by Dana Lee. Chapter 39. Remember what we agreed, sugar. Keep the skeletons in the closet. You're gonna have to learn to bite your tongue around that Yankee. You really think she is a Yankee, Mama? How can you tell? Oh, she's the prize heifer, all right. She's country as can be. Lord have mercy, I don't like you being around her. We can't trust her. Come to Lafayette for a visit with me. It's so boring there, Mama, and what would I tell Moselle when she asks about Danny? You know she will. Don't tell her anything. We can't have this getting around. Oh, Mama, she seems sweet, and Danny loves her. Why, I can tell you, if one of those handsome Yankee captains ever gave me the time of day, I might liably be on my way to New York City. Bite your tongue. You see what I mean, don't you? Listen to yourself. That Yankee is a bad influence already. Well, in case you haven't noticed, Mama, there aren't any Southern men around. Hush. The next thing I know, you'll be running around with a colored. You caused me great pains, child. You always did. Your brother never gave me any trouble. Till now, and ain't in a doozy. Well, I'm not going. I want to stay right here, and you can't make me either. Can I trust to leave you then unchaperoned with a Yankee in the house? T.T. will be here. No, T.T. must come with me. Mama, I'm nearly 30 years old. Hush, you don't want that getting around either. You're not that old. Your behavior is quite disturbing. Well, if you ain't the pot and I'm black. Hush yourself, and who is that Chinaman I've seen round calling? Now, Mama, mind your business. Go for a visit with the de Galvez ladies. Get you away from the Yankee. I can't think what to do about it. Well, now, looky here. A fat gray, short-haired cat, a Russian blue, who scrounged off of shrimpers and ladies of all sorts, scratched at the storm door. Marie let him in. Just what will be needing around here? Yet another mouth. Oh, Mama, he's the one that kills the rats in the alley. Oh, Puss, well, I think that deserves a treat. T.T. did not want to go to the cottage in Lafayette. I want to stay here with the little master. What she was thinking was that she didn't crave for company of 4 white birds calling her all day and night. She kind of even liked the little master's Yankee. Why shouldn't she? The truth lies somewhere inside the secret selves of the 2 women. It was that Louise had abused her to the very spirit for decades now. She was tired. Don't be ridiculous. You're coming with me. Maybe I'll run off, find the others if you take me. She gave her the evil eye, and Louise blessed herself against it. But what am I supposed to do? Mademoiselle de Galvez will surely cater to you, Mrs. O'Neill. T.T. did a little curtsy. Yes, after all, they're living in my house, aren't they? Paying no rent, living off of my generosity. But they were both thinking it was Daniel's house, the little master's, as was this house. Louise got the point, and she was not accustomed to losing. She fanned herself peevishly. The de Galvez ladies are doing very well, and they got their old mammy Sally Ray, who came back and is staying with them too. Great balls of fire! I'm feeding Yankees colored. Who's next? Who dat? The cat came in crying for some cream. Chapter 40. The Army had Lieutenant O'Neill listed as wounded at Gettysburg and missing in action. True, he could not fire a gun or wield a sword anymore, but they could not spare to discharge him from service. Their losses were too many. They were losing the war. Daniel's mother had gone to Lafayette, the Garden District, a couple of days before, when a plain-clothed rebel scout came to the back door. The 2 men proceeded to the parlor for privacy as Lee fixed them some tea. I can hardly believe you do this yourself, T.T. Marie was hanging around the kitchen with the cat. Really, I don't mind. It gives me something to do. Besides, T.T. went to the market. Oh, Let's get out of here for a walk after you have served them their tea. Isn't it dangerous? What, you afraid of the Yankees, are you? No, of course not. Go get your hat and gloves. If we turn down here, that's Royale, finest street in the whole world, if you ask me. Lee definitely agreed. It was excited with a pent-up energy. Marie looked pretty in a soft pink dress and bonnet. Lee was still not used to the summer heat and wore her lightest white dress and an old straw hat. They passed a Yankee that tipped the neb of his cap to them and said, "Afternoon, ladies," as they passed. Lee found it all terribly beautiful and thought how Louise had completely exaggerated the situation. She had no idea of the depth of it, the depth that New Orleans could sink to. Coffee houses, gift shops, courtyards, boutiques, and doll shops await her on Royale. She stared in the window of a little doll shop. "Come on, do you want to go inside?" Marie grabbed her by the arm and led her up 2 steps and into the lovely shop. A bell rang in a little tinkling as the door opened. Lee stared around in wonderment. She had never seen so many dolls. Some were French, German, Italian, still others were American-made, almost lovingly. They were dressed in silk and lace, with 3-cornered hats or bonnets. "I have 4 dolls," said Lee. "I couldn't bring much with me, but I brought them." "I shall buy you another. Go on, then. Pick one. A doll for my little sister." "Oh, no, thank you, but you shouldn't. Not with so many people starving now. They are quite expensive. Who buys them?" "Nonsense, sugar. We aren't going to starve, and you look pretty healthy to me. Who buys them? Mostly Yankees, I'm sure, to send home to their little girls. Isn't that right, madam?" The Creole shopkeep came up behind them, smiling. It is sad but true. Lots of little Yankee girls with new dolls from Paris. Such a waste." Marie laughed. "Pick one. This one's nice, isn't she? She looks like you, that hair. What do you call this hair, madam?" "Titian wool." "Wrap this one up for us. Is Mr. Lou upstairs? Do you know?" "Oui, he's up there." Marie unwrapped a couple of gold pieces from a little gem-encrusted case she wore concealed amongst a cloud of fine silks below her waistline. "Now, you wait right here for me, honey, while she wraps your doll. If I'm not back before long, go next door to the courtyard and have a mimosa." She slipped another gold piece in Lee's hand, who wasn't given time to refuse or thank her. "But mercy, don't you go wondering about me." She walked through a set of drapes that hung over a doorway in the back of the shop. "Don't look so troubled by it, Cherie." The shopkeep handed Lee a praline wrapped in wax paper. She thought she had never tasted anything nearly as wonderful, sweet and chewy. She comes here a couple of times a week. She and Mr. Lou are old friends, vacationing next door to each other at Grand Isle for years, since Mademoiselle was just a girl. She called you sister. Did you marry the handsome Lieutenant O'Neill?" Lee wished she would hurry up and finish wrapping the box. Lord, but all the Southern women just seem to talk and talk to most everybody and still have the time to mention the dirty laundry and how they kept that to themselves. This woman was maniacally slow. "Oh, yes, I'm Mrs. O'Neill." She'd like to say it, didn't get the chance to say it enough. "I'm sorry, but this heat, if you'll just finish with the wrapping, I think I would like to sit next door and have a cold drink." "Will you go and sit down, madam? I'll bring the doll to you when I've finished." "Oh, thank you. You are most kind." The doll had long since been delivered, and Lee had finished the entire carafe of mimosa and was wasted. There was a piano player in the courtyard. Lee thought that he was good, but not as good as Marie. She had a kind of weird genius with the keys. She also sang like a bird. The courtyard itself was cool and dark, a brick floor and a garden area with a fountain and wishing pool. Palms and foliage gave the breezy way a dreamy atmosphere, and the mimosa was the nectar. "Where is that girl? Pardon, will you please bring me a croissant with some butter and jam?" "Of course." "How far am I from Toulouse?" "That's just the next street over." "I see." She worried what Daniel would think as she staggered home across the street. Just when she had the house in view, she screamed as a little child had stolen her box from under her arm and ran off with it. She felt wretched and thought to slip in through the back door, only the gate was locked, and she rang the bell and prayed that Titi would answer, and she did. "Lord, Mr. Daniel is out looking for you. Get yourself in here and out from the street. Don't you know it's not fitting for a young lady such as yourself to be out gallivanting around? Where's Miss Marie?" "She's visiting Mr. Lou above the doll shop." Titi shook her head with disapproval. It's all she mumbled that Lee could make out. "Are you drunk, child? Lottie be, you certainly not the lady, are you? I hears you a Yankee." "I don't suppose it matters any more." "Of course it do." Daniel came into the parlor. "There you are. Where did you go? Can't turn your back 1 minute on those Yankees, Titi. You know what I'm saying." "We's was just discussing as much, Master Daniel. I thinks you picked yourself a nice little wife, but that sister of yours, Mr. Daniel, you ought to have a talking with her. It do me no good to say anything, so I keeps my mouth shut." "I'll do that. Where is she?" "Don't say nothing, Mrs. Lee. She'll be back around later, you'll see." Chapter 41. "Listen, darling, my sister is something of an enigma, I know. She only gets worse. That's why she's never been married. Besides, she's terribly spoiled, but I do believe that she is warming up to you." "What's the matter with her, Danny?" "I suppose she has a rather romantic temperament, wouldn't you say?" "Do you know she smokes a pipe?" He laughed. "You don't say. Well, I can hardly say that I'm surprised. Marie O'Neill, even her name seems to fit nowhere. Why don't you look to find her a husband while Mama is away?" "Me? Why not? You know I'll be busy these next few months here with business about the war." "Honestly, Danny, I know nobody here besides you and your sister." "Now, that's not true. Everybody loves you, and how couldn't they?" "Your sister does seem to like me. Are you sure she's all there?" "I love my sister. I did not say that I approve of her or her choices of company. I have to step out for a while today. Don't worry. Are you going to be all right here? I'll lock the door, and you know where the pistol is if you should need it. Marie wouldn't have the sense to go about that, nor Titi for that matter, but call her if you should need anything." The truth of it, that he was keeping from his wife for good reason, was that he was now, thanks to his relationship with the infamous and much loved Mr. Boods, a secret agent of the Confederacy. The general was even pleased that he had married a Yankee. Lee thought that she was the only soul left stirring in the house. It was early afternoon, but Marie seldom was up before 2. She came home late at night, too, although she thought it was secret. She would creep up the steps after midnight to her rooms on the 2nd floor. Daniel was a sound sleeper, but Lee could hear the creaking staircase. She had no difficulties keeping secrets, which was good, as New Orleans lay sinking beneath a dark gulf of secrets. The crawfish seemed to cause her milk-fed stomach distress and gave her nightmares. Yankees, roaches, and rats. She missed Shiner now living with Jenny, who probably did not let him sleep in the bed. Sometimes now that his mother was away, Daniel would sleep with his wife in her bed, other times in the gentleman's quarters of his own. He spent more time in those rooms now lately, since this business with the army, that he was not at nature to discuss with her, she who had witnessed Gettysburg. His withdrawal hurt. Her mind returned to her as she heard the sound of the piano. It was a rhapsody, and she followed it upstairs to the 2nd floor, which ordinarily she avoided due to Louise's request. The music was so beautiful to her, and she stood entranced outside the closed door. She worked up the nerve to knock softly and then entered the room. There Marie sat, head hanging in front of the baby grand piano in the corner. She did not acknowledge Lee's entry and continued to play behind a veil of smoke. The air of the room was stifling, even with opened windows. Lee did not think that her rooms were so bad as this, especially at night. The French doors opened to the breeze. Something lay burning in the ashtray on the front of the creme-colored piano. It smelled like dark flowers. The room was somehow dark for this time of day. The thin purple shears hung with brass scrolls left in the kind of light witnessed in dreams. The wallpaper, too, was a deep violet damask and made the room seem shallow, although it wasn't. Marie did not look up even when she had finished the dark piece. "I hope I haven't startled you. I hate to intrude, but your playing is lovely. It makes me less homesick, I think." Marie seemed to look right through her and smiled. She moved to a chaise lounge and reclined. Lee sat on a little chair close to her. She smelled like dark flowers and secrets. "Mama says you're a farm girl. Is that true?" "Well, I grew up in a town." "Oh, I see. Do you have any siblings?" "I have a little brother in the army. He's a musician, too. He plays the fiddle like magic. He had a twin, but he was killed in the war." "I am sorry. What are they like?" "Who?" "The Yankees." "I suppose the biggest difference seems to be the work ethic." "Why, we work in the South, darling. The Irish boys in the canal and the field hands, why, they work themselves to death. They are victims of this society. Now that there is Yankee sentiment." "It is. I'm sorry, but the doll you bought me was stolen right from under my arm on the street. I didn't want to tell you." "Does that sort of thing happen on Yankee streets?" "Not till the rebels came to town," she laughed now, and so did Marie. "It's the colored out of control since the Yankees freed them. You must have had the living daylights scared out of you." "I was all right, just shocked and surprised mostly." "Am I the only northerner you know?" "Why, of course not." She got up and brought over a small silver tray with a green bottle, 2 little glasses with spoons, a matching silver sugar bowl, and a box of matches. Setting the tray and its contents upon a little parlor table at her side, she continued with what seemed a strange ritual to Lee, pouring the green spirit into the glass, placing a sugar cube on an ornate spade-like spoon, lighting a match, and stirring the wicked contents as if she was Hecuba. She handed Lee the first concoction, as she was still under the effects of her opium pipe. "Absinthe sugar?" Lee smelled the drink, and Marie laughed again. "Don't smell it, honey. Drink it." She tried to sip at it, though it nearly gagged her. Black spots, wormholes, began to appear before her eyes, as if the worms had eaten through the walls. She wondered if the drink was safe, or if Marie was trying to do away with her. But there she was, languid, thoughtful, sipping the absinthe herself. "I knew a couple of Yankees, law. Don't ever tell a soul. Do you promise?" "Yes. Not even Danny. Mama would kill me for blabbing, especially to you." "I understand." Then Marie's face changed like the passing moon, and she looked straight through her again and told the story as if she was talking to the walls. "I was out late and shouldn't have been. We were only in the quarter a couple of weeks when a couple of darkies started giving me some trouble. 2 Yankees sent them on their way and brought me home. Mama was livid, I knew, but she was cool enough not to show it. Daddy kept a fortune in gold here, hidden under the steps. A regular leprechaun he was, and Mama was not prepared to make another sacrifice to the Yankees. I remember how she used to worry about him keeping so much money here, and for not sinking his fortune into the Confederacy. She wanted Danny to be the governor some day. It is lucky for all of us that Daddy never listened. She always said that women had no business worrying about money. I don't think those Yankees were as dangerous to us as Mama believed. However, it had been only weeks before when they had torched our home and fields. She just wasn't willing to take the risk. Most Southerners wouldn't blame her. In fact, they'd applaud her ingenuity." She stopped, as if at once conscious of what she was saying. What had been walled up inside of her for months now keeping her awake at night and eating her alive, the reason she escaped the house, the reason she found a confidant in her brother's Yankee wife. What happened then? Then Mama left me in the parlor with them and said she would bring some refreshment. That's when I knew that she was up to something, but what I didn't know. The one Yankee was awful. His teeth were rotten, and he smelled like a soft-shelled crab. The other, however, was kind of handsome for a Yankee. He had nice eyes. I remember them. I still see them all the time, looking at me from my mind's eye, waiting for me to tell. Mama came back into the parlor with a silver tray laden with white cake and cafe au lait. She asked me to play the piano for her guests and led us all up here, where I played Bach at her request, and she fed them cake and poured their coffee. "Play on, sugar, play on, like we were back at Tir na Gog," she said. I still did not know what she was up to. Thought I was serving her deluded mind. Something happened to Mama the night of the fire, the night Daddy died, shooting down Yankees. He shot himself, you know, though Mama won't admit it. He wouldn't have been given a Catholic burial if it had been suicide, which really it wasn't. He just had to beat those Yankees to the end and would not allow them the satisfaction of hanging him. Otherwise, they might not have set fire to the house, which was old and wood and came down fast. Are you Catholic? Yes. Marie had thus lost all inhibitions and crossed the room again for her pipe. She lit it and held the mouthpiece clenched in her mouth, eyes closed, inhaling the essence. Finally she exhaled in little rings of smoke, smiled, and returned to the chase. Her hair was long, and her curls had fallen from the humidity. For once Lee noticed her face was scrubbed free from powder and cosmetics. She looked older, less of a fragile child doll. "There, that's better. You promised to keep my secrets." "I promise." "Mama will kill us if you don't." Lee set her absinthe on the table. She could feel the room closing in on her, and her stomach clenched. Anyways, I noticed at some point that those Yankees stopped talking, and I turned round and saw them right there like they were sleeping. I reckoned they were, and I saw Mama had a cushion over the ugly one's face and his pistol in her little hand. It hadn't made much noise, I remember. It was early June and the streets were noisy with drunkards and whores. I hadn't believed she killed him even then, as she went for the handsome one, and I thought to stop her. I suppose it's difficult to imagine your mama killing a man, but I figured Danny and your brothers must have killed hundreds between them. Considering what she had seen, what she had been through, Lee made a suitable witness to the tale, and sat enraptured, but not at all shocked, summing it up as the simple arithmetic of war. "So now there's 2 dead Yankees bleeding on my rug, and Mama rolls them up like crepes and tells me to help." She stopped yet again. She seemed paralyzed and stupid. Her eyes were closed, as if she was putting this all to bed once and for all. Lee got up and touched her hand. It seemed cool in this impossible heat. "Marie?" She felt lightheaded herself. Marie opened her glazed eyes. "We put them in the pantry, walled them up behind the bricks." Chapter 42. Daniel had a meeting with Jean this afternoon. It was August and blazing. He wore the white hat of a planter on his head to shade his face. The last few years had added creases to his clear brow, and the scars on his weak arm mimicked the turns of the Mississippi. He could hear the sounds of a lonely coronet off in the distance as he traipsed through the red light district that was quiet this time of day, towards Rampart Street. A whore cooed to him from her bedroom window. That's when he saw Cherie, removed his hat, wiped his face with his handkerchief, and stared in dumbfounded confusion. She did not see him at first. She was busy hanging out sheets to dry in the hot sun. Cherie was his own age, the youngest of his mammy's 6 daughters. They grew up together, played together as children. Mammy's father had been a Spaniard, her mother a slave. Daniel hadn't really considered it, for Cherie had left the plantation at 15 for debutante balls in the quarter while he was in Europe, but her father must have been white. She had the prized beauty of what was high yellow complexion and long black curls and lashes. She had the most soulful dark eyes and a sensuous mouth. Cherie. Much to his surprise, when she saw who it was, she ran in the back door of one of the cat houses. He had to meet John and did not have time to pursue his old playmate. However, he brought her up at dinner that evening. Titi had made some beans and rice, and he thought that Mama was right. She was lazy. Titi, hold on a minute. Do you know who I saw today? Cherie, my mammy's daughter, which makes her your niece. Am I correct? Titi had her hands behind her and backed towards the dining room door. Yes, Mr. Daniel, she's my niece, but I don't see her no more. I saw her on the corner of Burgundy near Ramparts. What in the world brought her there? Who? Titi said, and Marie, who was through with confessions for the evening, looked up from her stupor and her untouched plate at her, and Titi was out the door. That evening before going to bed, he questioned Titi about Cherie again. Titi, I love my mammy, and I know she's rolling in her grave knowing what her daughter's come to. Oh, Mr. Daniel, now that we's alone, I can tell you, it ain't that much different than slaving. I tell you, it's bad mojo, and it threatens her immortal soul. Slavery hurts the back and the hands, but harlotry damns her soul. I only want to help her, give her some money. Oh, sir, she don't need your money. She makes plenty of money off the rich Yankee soldiers and sailors. They don't even know she's colored. She's got a boy, too, you know, Christopher. He's about 12 now. No, I didn't know. It's been so long since I've seen her, but we used to be such great friends. Daddy just adored her. Mm-hmm. I thought you said you don't see her. I said I don't see her no more. I don't go that a ways, never. So, when's the last time you did see her? I haven't seen her since we were teenagers. She went away then, all highfalutin, high and mighty, forgetting about who she was. Oh, I sees hers right about the time we moved in here. You don't know about that. Your sister didn't tell you? Tell me what? She was living right here with her boy when we got here. Madame O'Neill was quite taken aback about with it. I was thinking, what in tarnation? Mama threw her out? Well, they was quarreling. What did they argue about? Now, Master Daniel, you's gonna get me in big trouble with your mama asking me questions like that, and if they haven't told you already, ask your sister. I was going to bed. Next day, he wait for his sister in the courtyard. What's this business about Cherie living here when you all got here? Forget it, honey. I know I try to. Marie, if you don't tell me, then I shall have to ask Mama about it myself. She thought this hilarious. Titi, get me my coffee. I've got a splitting headache. Now, little brother, why do you want to go upsetting Mama again? Upsetting her how? Danny, if you must know, you can't tell Mama, not ever, you hear? Why, it nearly tore her apart. You promise? That never hurt Mama. You brought home a Yankee, didn't you? To Mama, that was nearly just as bad. She didn't have a choice but to toss her out on the street, you know. No, tell me. Well, when we got here, we were in an awful state, as you can well imagine. That black bitch acting like she owned the place. And Daddy had given her the house, had given her this house to her and her boy. She had been living up there on the 3rd floor, Lee's rooms, for years. Said Daddy was the father of that child of hers. Mama told her to get out, else she'd kill that kid of hers and say he'd run off with the Yankees. Daniel just sat there in a daze of dumbfounded confusion. He tried to sort it all out. It was possible. Cherie was beautiful, and Daddy had always admired her. He was often gone from the plantation. I can understand Mama's sentiment. Daddy's honor was at stake. He broke the silence with his attempt at rationality. Rationalism and realism were always losing to his impulsive heart's desire. Hers too, especially hers. What do we care about honor? It's not even a memory, only another lie. At any rate, Daddy would not want them living how they were living, nor Mammy for that matter. He obviously had her staying here. She could be lying. She was always a conniving little thing, don't you remember? She certainly had the perfect circumstances and opportunity with the Yankees setting them all loose and occupying the city. I never trusted her. Little tease she was. I knew her better than you. You went off to Europe and I was stuck home with them and Mama. Does the child bear any resemblance to the family? Daniel O'Neil, just what are you getting at? That Daddy would? I won't believe it. I won't listen. It's like spitting on his grave. There is no proof. Still, he'd like to see the boy.